Hello, for Crypto Conversations, I am John Najarian here in San Moritz with CEO Patrick Lowry. Patrick, you and I were lucky enough to enjoy the stage together, and backstage was when as you guys all know, when you get some of the best back and forth is before you go on and after you go on.
Oh, it's always wonderful to have those behind doors, closed doors conversations, right?
Absolutely.
No, but it was wonderful to speak on the panel with you, John. Really appreciated some of your insights.
Now, Cryptology Asset Group, it is a very unique and up-and-coming platform for investing in cryptocurrencies, both venture and coins. So tell us a little bit about that, some of the investments you guys have made and so forth.
So Cryptology is largely unknown on a global scale. We are a publicly listed company trading in Germany, albeit we are based out of Malta. Cryptology Asset Group...
Putting those two together.
Exactly, yeah. Cryptology was founded by German entrepreneur Christian Angermeyer, as well as his business partner Joram Folklein and Mike Novogratz, which everyone knows from Galaxy Digital.
Yep.
The three of them got together and came up with the concept of what could be a European merchant bank for crypto, or at least that was the initial vision of Cryptology at that time. They injected the capital and founded the company back in January 2018. Unfortunately, for everyone that is relatively familiar with the crypto space, we know that that was quite literally the worst time in the world, probably to found the company. That was
we call it crypto winter,
the
right?
very beginning of crypto winter. So Cryptology over that time wasn't truly able to build out the full operable arm around the merchant bank vision it had at the time, but it actually invested in a handful of companies. The most noteworthy ones, of course, are Block One, most known for their EOS issuance, and of course the Bullish exchange, which just went live at the end of 2021 and is planning on going public via SPAC. That was announced, I think, last summer. And Northern Data, of course, one of the largest HPC mining services that you can find in North America. But we also invested in a couple of smaller companies. For instance, one that I founded, Iconic, which is a crypto asset management group that has index funds, algorithmic strategies, crypto ETPs backed and trading, basically the European version of a Bitcoin ETF, trading on German stock markets, for instance. And there's a handful of other companies, such as Next Markets and more that we've invested in. So out of the 5 or 6 companies that Cryptology invested in during that crypto winter period, not only did every single one of them survive, but they all largely thrived, especially Block One and Northern Data going on to become
an amazing success story.
Billion-dollar behemoths at the end of the day, right? And Block One has their voice platform that they were rolling out. They now have that pivoted towards an NFT marketplace, which I'm really excited to see come to fruition later this year. And of course, the Bullish exchange, which we're very excited about that coming out. But what happened with Cryptology is it listed publicly in Germany back in, I think late 2020, October 2020. And with crypto becoming a bit more in vogue, let's say, it was realized that there is a huge opportunity cost for what Cryptology can be. So because I had worked with Christian through Iconic, he had been indirectly invested in Iconic for many, many years, and because I was familiar with the crypto asset management space, they asked me if I'd be willing to step in and run Cryptology on top of what I do with Iconic. And given the synergies and given this unique opportunity to take this already publicly listed company and try to drive crypto adoption through traditional means, which is my passion, it's what my mission is in life right now, that's where I saw a unique opportunity leveraging the infrastructure that Cryptology was, these hidden reserves in the assets it had been invested into, this $500 million balance sheet at that time, and trying to find new investment opportunities, capitalizing on the gains we had made in the investments we've already had. So that's where Cryptology, we came up with what I call a 6-pillar approach towards investing in crypto. And the general theme of this is we want to have a holistic view of investing in the crypto space. So not just in crypto companies and not just in crypto assets, but really being the Berkshire, if you will, of crypto, touching every aspect of investing in the space, such that our investors, anybody that is a shareholder of our publicly listed shares, gets the indirect exposure to the performance of a wide array of crypto strategies. First and foremost is, of course, the equity companies that we've invested in, Block One, Northern Data, etc.
And Block One is a huge holder of
Block
BTC.
One is a behemoth. Block One is crypto's sleeping giant, and people don't truly understand that. And of course, there's been issues around the EOS chain. Block One, especially with the EOS cryptocurrency, has had negative press about it since the beginning, of course. But Block One has a war chest, and they're deploying that war chest onto the bullish exchange, creating what theoretically could be the most liquid spot market using their hybrid order book, having a traditional matching engine as you would see in a traditional order book, but having an aggregated market maker similar to what we see in DeFi. And combining these elements together and injecting 160,000 Bitcoin as liquidity into this platform.
160,000. Let that sink in, folks.
More Bitcoin than God, right?
Yeah. More than Michael Saylor.
Exactly. Well, Michael's getting there. I think he just crossed 100K, didn't he, recently?
He did, yeah.
His
to you, Michael.
Unbelievable conviction he has over there. He was actually part of the inspiration behind putting direct holding of Bitcoin and Ethereum and other leading crypto assets on Cryptology's balance sheets. I mean, when you see institutions looking for exposure to Bitcoin and crypto, a lot of them aren't comfortable having it on their own balance sheet. It all comes down to regulation, compliance, but even more importantly, user experience. I don't think people understand from a technical internal ledger layer how difficult it will be for a lot of these larger banks just to have Bitcoin implemented into their ledger. I mean, I'm a CPA by trade, so I'm used to looking at all these ledgers. I was even a part of JP Morgan during the Bear Stearns acquisition in WAMU, and I was part of the ledger conversion team. That was a freaking nightmare, just trying to reconcile all these different accounts together. The same problem is posed in crypto. So companies prefer to have exposure in a user experience that they're more familiar with, and that's investing in equities, it's investing in trading derivatives, it's investing in ETFs. That's why we have such a hubbub around the Bitcoin ETF. And Michael Saylor took this and just ran with it and created the ultimate pseudo Bitcoin ETF underneath MicroStrategy, right? And it was no more evidence by the demand that these types of banks and institutions have for Bitcoin than seeing Morgan Stanley increase their equity holding of MicroStrategy from 0.5% over 10%. Which we have in SEC filings, immediately after Michael started acquiring Bitcoin. So that was the inspiration behind creating this holistic investment thesis in crypto underneath the Cryptology umbrella.
Right, and with Cryptology Asset Group, you guys, they get exposure, folks, to, just as he said, to their venture investing side. So you're getting people that really know the space and the ventures that they're backing. You're getting the merchant banking function, which is still a vision.
It's still a vision, and we're working on and ideating different operable arms we can have leveraging our balance sheet underneath this Cryptology umbrella. I mean, at the end of the day, institutions, they are looking to have this type of exposure via a familiar means. So on one hand, we're trying to work to solve that problem for them through our publicly listed shares. But one of the things that really is unique about crypto is how retail driven it truly is. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is how crypto is decentralizing and democratizing the absolute most opportunistic wealth generation opportunity we have in history. And people need to be able to participate in that. Unfortunately, unless you're invested in some of the more liquid coins, retail, because of qualified and accredited investor laws, they don't have the legal rights to invest in these types of managers. They can't invest in venture capital funds. They can't invest in hedge funds. And historically, these have been the best performing asset classes. And we can argue until we're blue in the face over the value of accredited investor laws, but the reality is retail still can't access this. Well, if you own Cryptology shares, you get indirect access into the investments in those types of strategies.
Sure.
At Cryptology, we deploy to quantitative strategies, market neutral strategies, algorithmic strategies. So,
are you guys employing any AI for any of that yet, or not yet?
We don't do it ourselves. We actually invest in external managers. Last summer, we announced that we would be deploying $100 million into a crypto fund-to-funds play. Our focus is predominantly on crypto venture funds. So, for instance, we've invested in Anthony Pompliano's rolling fund. Pomp has a very wide investment focus, and he recently announced he wouldn't be taking any external investors. So we're actually one of Anthony Pompliano's few remaining limited partners as Cryptology, something we're very excited about because, well, everybody knows who's Pomp is.
Yeah, he's the Pied Piper of crypto.
Exactly.
He and Max Kaiser, but Max and Stacy, love you guys, but that's a different sort of animal, Max and Stacy.
And we invested in Bitcraft's token fund. Bitcraft is one of the most successful video game venture capital groups in history, and they launched their token fund. And it made absolute perfect sense given the crossover between gamification and crypto, and you're seeing that in the pay-to-earn platforms right now. So we became LPs of Bitcraft's token fund. So these types of investment opportunities that are still highly centralized around high net worth individuals, around institutions like Cryptology, around private banks, we're actually democratizing that and making that available for people to participate in the returns of those types of assets via our publicly listed shares.
Now, let's hit on the publicly listed shares for a sec. So, German markets, great regulation, supermarket, but not the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange for U.S. investors. I'm saying it's great for Europe. Is there any thought about you guys getting a listing overseas as well, over in NASDAQ or New York?
Obviously, given compliance, there's only so much that I can say about this, but we have been public about our desire ever since I stepped in as CEO in exploring international listings. And we have had conversations with multiple exchanges in various different jurisdictions, and we are actively working towards listing Cryptology on perhaps one and maybe multiple venues in the very near future. So at the end of the day, crypto is a wide open field. It is non-jurisdictional. And we want Cryptology to embrace that, albeit in a compliant manner because, well, capital markets are the way they are, right?
Beautiful. Well, folks, Patrick Lowry, CEO of Cryptology Asset Group and one of the smartest guys in the space. I encourage you to check them out.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you.